Afternoon. Today is May 12 and it's 4:08 p.m. And we please start call the roll.
Chairperson Wani Garza.
Here.
Vice Chair Ted Masiacos.
Present.
Alderman John Lash.
Present.
Alderman Brandon Tolliver. Alderman Daniel Barreto.
Present.
4 present.
Okay. Approval of the minutes for 25-0351 for Monday, April 21st.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Ted Masiacos, second Alderman Lash. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
No change to need. Motion approved. Public comments?
No, we do not.
Okay. The first item in the agenda is 25-0063, a resolution authorizing the Director of Purchasing to enter an agreement with Indolph LLC, 11816 Lackland Road, Street, San Luis, Missouri, 63146, and Volunteer Supply Industries Ltd., 105 East Galena Boulevard, Suite A06, Aurora, Illinois, 60505, an amount not to exceed $32,500 and $53,866 respectively for the purchase of lighting materials for various locations through the city.
Good afternoon, Ian Wade with the engineering division. This is our regular recurring purchase of streetlight materials. A lot of these are due to knockdowns and accidents and things that have to be replaced throughout the city. This particular round also included some drivers for some retrofitted fixtures as well. The reason this was structured this way is the electrical division was basically out of replacement fixtures. So when we initially opened the bids, purchasing allowed us to open up small purchase orders under the thresholds to have to bring it forward just to get some ordered and in place. Now that we have those, we're bringing forward the purchase of the remainder of those items. So as you can see on the bid tabulation, 2 of the 4 respondents were lowest in their respective categories, and those are the ones that we are awarding to. Pretty straightforward. I'll answer any questions.
Question, when is it like an accident knockdown, so we recuperate some money for the insurance companies or no?
I don't believe so.
No? We just put it on?
Yeah. Jason can probably speak to that.
Jason Bauer, Department of Public Works. Yes, we do recoup that. We work
Yes.
with the risk department, legal, and we go through all of that. You know, we get the police reports, we get in contact with the insurance companies. The only ones that are a little trickier are hit and runs, if somebody doesn't stop.
Yes,
Those,
and
but
then-
that's not the biggest portion. That's a much smaller piece, so.
All right.
But yeah, we do recoup that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I got a question.
Yes?
So my question is, this has been a hot item in Ward 1, maybe other wards, but we've had a lot of lights out on Farnsworth from Schaefer all the way to Molitor, and I've been told they've been waiting for these parts. So my question is, are these parts in now, or when will they be in? The drivers.
So basically, I'm helping procure these. I'm not really familiar with operationally where these stand and where we are on these. I know these are intended to address those issues. So I believe the last I spoken with Scott Miller as of a few weeks ago, they had not yet come in yet. But we'd be happy to get you an update on the status ahead of it.
This is one of those frequently asked questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
As I mentioned, I really am just helping with the procurement.
Yep.
So.
Yes?
I see we have a good 3 bidders, or 4 bidders.
Yes.
In the past, I've seen BSI and Gray Bar. Are there any others that this went out to and they just didn't respond? I'm not sure how many companies are out there that do or provide these part numbers.
Yeah, Jolene with purchasing. Here.
Sure.
So Jolene Coulter, Director of Purchasing. We actually did, this was one of our first bids we did with OpenGov. We had quite a few respondents. After going through and evaluating a few, we had to disqualify them because what they proposed didn't meet the requirements that were requested. So we did disqualify a few just because they weren't.
Components didn't match or something to that effect?
So I mean, it's very specific, so we have to make sure everything, and they went through and did an evaluation on that. Mr. Miller did, so.
Okay, and this was done through OpenGov?
OpenGov, yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Alderman John Lesch, second Alderman Denver Redo. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed, 4-0. Next item is 23-0343, a resolution authorizing the purchase of replacement and additional vehicles for the city of Aurora fleet for $1,717,100, $580.
Good afternoon, Chris Linville, Superintendent of Fleet Operations. We're requesting approval to purchase replacements and some additional vehicles. I'm here to answer any questions.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So first of all, I see we've got the hybrid squad cars. Did we make an effort on the cargo van to make that an electric vehicle?
Yeah, so the cargo van is for animal control, and they will not build the animal control installation on an EV platform. I did inquire about that. And that's through Mavron.
More questions? No?
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, move Alderman Denver Redo, second Alderman John Lesch. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
motion passed, 4-0. Thank you. Okay, next item is 25-0379, a resolution to award the View Ridge North Water Main Improvement Project located in Ward 6 to Miller Pipeline LLC and the bid amount of $3,173,802.50.
Good afternoon, Kurt Muth with the Engineering Division. So each year we try and choose one subdivision area to target with our water main improvement, which is larger in size, trying to get a better economy of scale. We'll tackle about 6,000 feet of water main in the Bow Ridge North subdivision. That's north of Sullivan, just west of the railroad tracks in Highland and the roundabout area. It was built in the early 60s and would include about 120 to 130 lead water services that would be replaced. Utilized OpenGov and received 6 bids, with Miller Pipeline being the lowest bid, approximately 4.5% below the engineer's estimate. Haven't done a project with this size with Miller Pipeline before. Have done a smaller repair a couple weeks ago with them. Got a good feel for their workload. That was a storm sewer repair, not quite the same, but they also got a smaller job that we're going to get started before this one. So it'll kind of ramp up in size. Happy to answer any other questions.
Questions, comments? Yes?
Is this contract for both the lead and the pipe and the main?
Correct.
Okay. And does Stark usually put in or no?
They do occasionally.
Okay, they just didn't respond on this one.
Yeah.
And then my only other question is, are we resurfacing, are those getting resurfaced after the work's done? Or are we just patching in the areas that are affected?
I believe this project we were just patching the trench.
Okay.
Yes? No? Okay.
So moved.
Okay, motion made by
Second.
Alderman John Lesch, second Alderman Denver Redo. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Okay. Next item is 25-0382, a resolution authorizing Director of Purchasing to authorize General Services Administration, GSA, and Houston Area Council, HGAC, Cooperative Purchasing Contract to purchase a pair of vehicles repair list for the new public work facility from Vehicle Service Group LLC, 2700 Lanier Drive, Madison, Indiana, 47250 for the combined amount of $97,610.25.
Stop touching that. Sorry about that. Again, Ian Wade with the Engineering Division. So I am assisting the fleet operations folks in helping to purchase 2 vehicle repair lifts for the new public works facility. I'm here as the project manager for that project, so we're looking to add these to to the new facility. Just a little bit of background. Our original plan was to utilize our existing contract with R.C. Wegman to use contingency dollars to purchase these lifts. However, we were able to have direct dialogue with their vendor, who informed us that if we purchase these directly from them through the two cooperative purchasing contracts referenced in the memo, we were able to actually save ourselves quite a bit of money. I think it was like $25,000 versus if we bought them through Wegmans. So we obviously jumped at that opportunity to save that money. And again, as described in there, each of these lifts do definitely fill a need in terms of, I guess, a void in the current abilities of the Fleet Division to repair heavier duty vehicles as either one at a time, or some of the larger heavier ambulance vehicles themselves, as was described in that memo. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. We also have Chris Linville here with Fleet, who could probably speak a little better to any other questions in terms of the day-to-day of that.
Questions, comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we've already got a bunch of lifts over there that are brand spanking new. These are heavier duty.
Yes.
What's the rating for the ones that are already over there?
So we have a 4-post 30,000-pound lift and a 4-post 18,000-pound lift. The 18,000-pound lift will not lift the rear ends of the newer medics. It barely lifts them to the strains. So we would be adding a new 30,000-pound lift, which would give us a capacity of 2 of those lifts, so that if a fire truck is on it, we would have the ability to put another fire truck on another lift. And then the other new lift that we're getting, or would be getting, is a 22,000-pound 4-post lift, which will easily lift those medics.
And then we don't have anything at the existing facility that could be moved over.
We're moving both the 4-post lifts over, so we would have a total of 4 4-post lifts.
Do we need them? I'm just being honest.
Yeah, we could definitely use them.
So what are the ones that we're moving over then? What weight will they hold?
So, like I said, the 4-post 30,000-pound lift, it'll lift fire trucks, bigger dump trucks.
That's the one we're moving over.
We're moving that one and
Okay.
an 18,000-pound lift as well. So it'll lift the medics up, but they each have jacks that will lift the axles up. The rear ends of the new medics are heavier, and they have a 18. So it's the rear jack will not lift up the rear of the medics on some of the new ones.
And then does this cost include installation?
Yes, I believe so.
It does, yes. And there is a little bit of additional wiring and some things like that will be added to Wegmans' scope, but at a nominal cost.
And then did we have this in the budget for this project?
We did have it within the FF&E budget, yes, the equipment purchasing budget, yes. There was still enough in there to purchase these, with still quite a bit left over. So.
Okay.
The good thing is when it's still using the old ones and the new ones,
Yep.
right? More questions, comments?
Yeah, my question is,
Yes.
so the number of lifts that you had, you could only have so many in the old place, but now you can have more?
That's correct.
And does this help with efficiencies?
It
And
will, yeah.
and
So
people don't have to
sometimes-
wait in line, sorry, we can't get to you because we can only do one at a time, type of thing?
Yep. There's been times where a fire truck might be on the lift for a week or two, and then another fire truck breaks down, so we might have to, it'll definitely help with efficiency, that's for sure.
Okay, thank you.
So moved.
Okay. Motion made by
Second.
Alderman John Lesch, second Alderman Demorado. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion pays 4-0. Okay, the next item is 25-0383, a resolution authorizing the city to enter in a highway authority agreement and associate environmental indemnity agreement supplement with Fleet 25 LLC for property located at 1125 Aurora Avenue.
Hello, Ian Wade again with Engineering Division. So these are a fairly common agreement that are typically entered into with private entities and municipalities when there's an underground tank leak that has an impact that leaches through in the ground to the public right-of-way. Basically, the IDOT and the environmental and the EPA has put this mechanism in place to allow us to take a look at the actual usage of the land and determine if it's really necessary to spend the millions of dollars to to dig out and chase soil, what could end up proving to be indefinitely, to try to find the limits of that, based on the use of this land and the fact that it's going to be buried well beneath just a working roadway. They've allowed for these agreements to go in place to allow for it to basically be encapsulated in place. And as a part of that, we are able to put into place the necessary environmental indemnity agreement to make sure that we're covered and against any future litigation or any issues that could come from that. So I'd be happy to ask any questions. I certainly am not ultra familiar with the legal side, so we may be calling them up if there's legal aspect questions to it, but I guess we'll ask if there's any questions.
Yes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I did have questions on the legal side because it basically lays out that we can do what we're planning to do, or we can, the second option would be for the city to require FLIP to excavate and remove all the contaminated soils in the right of way. I don't understand why we wouldn't require them. I believe that the owner of this property was the previous owner when it was a gas station then, correct?
I believe so. Patrick, you probably have a little bit more background with this one specifically.
Patrick Council, this is Corporation Counsel. As to the prior owner, I'm not familiar with who the prior owner is.
So when they came to council before to approve this, I think it was a zoning change, I asked about were the tanks still in the ground. They said that they were not. The tanks were removed. I don't know if that's true or not. And that it was the same company.
I believe the tanks have been removed, but this is the underground storage tank had leached off of the property into the right-of-way.
Right.
That requiring, well, a requirement of us to try to have them mitigate all of that would require a lawsuit that is probably best for a closed session if we were going to do something along those lines, which I would recommend if you would like a closed session on that, we do that. I would pass this now with no recommendation and take care of that at COW. I don't know if there's no guarantee in the lawsuit. This way we have in the environmental indemnity agreement that they are taking on the affirmative promise basically to take care of any of this if it is needed down the line. That basically these HAA agreements are utilized in this way where they are then on the hook for it if anything else needs to happen going forward. But because of, they also then have the option if there is a lawsuit or anything else that they can go to the EPA and just say, well, this project is way too big for what even needs to happen for it being underneath a road where there is no other development or anything else where it can go, and then just be done with it, and there's no environmental indemnity agreement that the city would have.
I guess my biggest concern is I don't know how significant the damage is. Presumably, it was why they removed the tanks and shut the site down, I'm guessing. I don't know that, but the other concern I have is that it's close to the river and, on the downward flow. And just based on this, I don't know what the damage, what damage has been done by what level of contamination, what are the contaminants? I can get more of that information for you. I don't have it. I know you had some questions, but I've spoken with our outside counsel who does a lot of the environmental work that we have. And it has been, as Ian said, this is a very standard practice with these when they're under the roadway part, but I can get you more information on any of that. Yeah, I think I would like to know more about how much, and I understand what we're trying to do is just say, so how does the indemnity work anyway? If it's found to be a problem later and we go through with this, is this LLC even going to be around at that time?
There are EPA, well, depending on what.
Because it's pretty hard to sue a company and force a company that doesn't exist to clean up their mess.
Then there are EPA Superfund cleanup abilities with that, without knowing more of the underlying what is there.
Yeah.
It's hard to say what may or may not happen. indemnity agreement is Flip's proactive stance of that if there is anything, they are not necessarily admitting liability, but admitting responsibility for any of the cleanup going forward. That isn't there if we sue them and have to go after Flip in order to get them to do any of this. If we would even go after Flip, who has the property now, but wasn't the entity that created the issue in the first place. That kind of tracks through on those.
I think I would like to know more before moving it forward, and especially about the nature of the contamination. Do we even know that? You just don't want to discuss it outside of?
But no, I do not know it. I don't know if Ian has some more
I
on
was
it.
just asked to draft a memo and bring this forward to you.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Is that a motion to hold?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to hold it here until we can get further information. I don't think we want to move it to Cal yet because we got a busy Cal next executive session next week. So probably just hold it right here, and that'll give us time to dig into it. Unless there's any sort of time crunch on this, is there?
I don't believe so. Jason, I think that'd be fine.
Okay.
I'm not.
A second.
Okay, motion to hold the item 25-0383, and as a motion made by Alderman John Lash and second Alderman Ted Misiakos. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion hold. All right, the next item is 25-0385, a resolution to award the Fox Valley Center Drive Water Main Replacement Project located in Ward 10 to Fox Excavating, Inc., and the bid amount of $209,835.00.
Hello, so this project would replace approximately 500 feet of water main in the Fox Valley Center Drive Mall area. It's just south of the east quadrant that was recently, in the last few years, redeveloped with residential. So the water main across Fox Valley Center Drive was replaced as part of that project. And then from there, it loops south farther through some commercial area that has a history of breaks. So we're looking to replace it through there. There's only a few services connected to it, but it's broken enough that it's been impactful to those businesses. But that area has copper services, so we'd only be looking to partially replace those services with the project, which saved on the cost a little bit. We did get 7 bids, with Fox Excavating being the lowest bid, approximately 13% below the engineer's estimate, and they've completed several other projects similar in scope, so we're confident with their ability to do the project. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman John Lesh, second Alderman Demorado. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0. Thank you. The next item is 25-0396, a resolution to purchase mobile vehicles barriers from Meridian Rapid Defense Group for use at special events.
Good afternoon. Again, Jason Bauer with the Department of Public Works. So these, at Wilder Park, for the last few years, we've had in the budget various improvements. We've done a lot of work out there over the past 3, 4, 5 years. And one of the things we were looking at installing were some bollards at key areas throughout the park, namely the corner by Route 31 and then down on both sides of River at the east end of the park. What we're trying to do is make it so that vehicles can't drive into the park without moving these away. Well, originally we were looking at bollards that would be cast in place that could withstand a vehicle impact. Those are very expensive and it's time consuming, and if any of them do get hit, then the repairs are also pretty extensive. So one of the things that I was working with APD on was finding a better solution, and one of the things we found was this Meridian barrier. So what this barrier is it's about a 700-pound piece of steel that has wheels on it that you can actually, anybody with the right tool can move it around. Then when it's in the right place, you lift the wheels up, you can lock the wheels in place, and then they're not going anywhere until the person with the key comes and moves it with the same piece of equipment that puts them in place. So the nice thing about these is that they are mobile. We do intend for them to basically stay here at Wilder full-time, but if for whatever reason we need to bring them downtown to supplement a parade for a day and there's not anything going on at Wilder, we can bring them down and then we'll just bring them back up to Wilder Park. We've actually had 2 different instances where vehicles, one was an impaired driver and the other was a driver that was speeding, that have actually driven into the park. And the debris that they caused when they came into the park, they hit one of the big planters, the big, that we have downtown, the big round planters. The debris from that planter flew hundreds and hundreds of feet, and they actually came in so far that they damaged one of the big planters in the middle. So it's definitely something we've had on our radar to get this fixed, not just for the safety of everyone there, but just the damage that gets caused when vehicles do come in there. The other nice thing about these is that the way they're designed, when the vehicle does hit it, it actually kind of turns over and then it stops it from underneath. So it's not like an impact that you would get with a bollard. So it's actually safer to the driver because we're not necessarily trying to hurt the person in the vehicle. We're trying to protect the people that are not in the vehicle. So we think that this is a great product. We're excited about it. We want to purchase 12 for Wilder Park, that we can put 3 at each of the 4 different areas where a vehicle can enter. And we would like to move forward with these. And then if they work well, then look to buying more of them for downtown events maybe next year as we look to this budget cycle, because we'll have a little bit of time experience using them, moving them, seeing if they do everything that we hope that they're doing. So.
Is it steel, you say?
Yeah, it's steel. Yeah, they're about 700-800
And it's safe
pounds.
for pedestrians?
Yep, yeah, and actually.
Because the other ones, they put it in here, remember, very light, but it's still some pedestrians fell down in that ones.
Yeah, these are,
So
they're
this one's
safe.
gonna be tall?
Yeah,
Or-
they're
And they have
about-
some lights or no? They don't have,
No, we'll have reflective tape on them, but these are gonna be put in spots where we would expect vehicles not to be driving at that point in time. And they actually come with cables that can connect them so that adds even more strength to them. And those have ADA ramps, and all of that comes with the kit that we're purchasing. We're purchasing the trailer, the cables, the ADA ramps, and then the 12 barriers. And we're working with this Meridian Rapid Defense Group. They're actually in a cooperative purchasing program, so we don't have any issues from procurement. It satisfies everything we need from a procurement standpoint, and it's a sole source anyway. There's nobody else that makes these, so we think it's a good product, and we're excited to use them.
and is that color, blue?
So we can
Or
get
is
them
it
any
different
color we
color?
want, yeah. So I think we would probably, it's probably a blue, and then, we can have our sign shop make labels with the city logo on them or anything like that. And they actually have pieces that go on top for wayfinding signage. So, if we put it at a farmer's market and we want to put a farmer's market sign in, you could do
Yeah,
stuff like
especially
that.
when the events are at nighttime. And what I'm saying, my concern is because I have some complaints for the people fell down because the down part is black, the plastic black, and it's meshed like asphalt. So they didn't see that.
Sure.
And so this one, if we want to be in a nighttime, so I think if we put it like a bright color, or if they don't have no lights, so be a bright color so the pedestrian can see it. I know this is protect with the cars, but also we have to think in the pedestrians.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Yeah.
We can take that into account when
Okay.
we select the color. Now, the ADA ramps where people would be walking that go over the cables, those are bright orange.
Yeah, okay.
So that does kind of draw the attention
Yeah,
to where
okay.
your feet are.
Questions, comments? Yes?
No, I was just curious if were there other options out there?
Yeah.
I've seen a bunch of like different kinds and some that are filled with water and,
Yeah,
so how
so
did you
we
land
have
on,
some-
how did you land on these?
So the ones that fill with water, you need quite a few of those to actually stop a vehicle. These will stop a vehicle almost immediately. I believe that it's within
Sí, I saw
30
that.
feet, the
Pero
vehicle will
los
stop.
barriles
The
de
water
barros.
barriers, if you hit one water barrier or 2, 3 water barriers, it's going to keep going. And again, there's the potential to injure the driver. Because again, this isn't always, we're not assuming every one of these instances is going to be someone that with malicious intent. Sometimes it could be, a poor person that, veers off the road because they have a medical issue, and then we don't want to cause them any more damage. So this stops a vehicle without, it's not caving in the front of the car, because it basically lifts the car up and damages the underside while the back side of the barrier is digging into the ground. So that's why it takes a little bit of distance to stop it. but we're not gonna send somebody, you know, hopefully not to the hospital. I mean, they'll end up at the hospital, I'm sure, you know, to get something checked out, but hopefully for just minor injuries, not life-threatening injuries with, you know, hitting something head-on.
Yes?
And I think your department, Public Works, is going to be putting these out, storing them. It won't be APD, but there'll be a collaboration there during event planning.
Correct, yeah. So again, these are going to stay primarily at Wilder all the time. If we do decide we want to bring them down for a day, we've already worked with special events. They came out to a demo that we had at APD. They put it on the lift and carried it around and put it right where they wanted it, and you pop the wheels up and you're on to the next one. So they were happy with them, and we will work with APD for placement. But yeah, Public Works would, you know, if we're bringing them downtown for anything, Public Works would load up the trailer, bring them down, put them at the, you know, the corners where they're supposed to go, and then the actual placement would be special events.
So there'll be 3 or 4 permanently at the entrance to Wilder, at River and Vine. And then for the events, like for Fiestas Patrias, we'll move it back, and then, okay.
Yeah, whatever layout they have for any special events at Wilder this summer, we would work with them to make sure we put them in the right spot.
No further questions.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
motion
Second.
made by Alderman John Lesh, second Alderman Demorado. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed 4-0. Okay, next item 25-0397, a resolution authorizing the execution and intergovernmental agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation for the maintenance of the state routes with the city of Aurora.
So this agreement covers all of the day-to-day maintenance and just ongoing work for 25 and 31 through the city limits. So this is for snow plowing, for the salt that we purchase, for the pothole patching, anything that we do that's just considered general maintenance. So if there's sidewalk and there's a sidewalk tripper, it would be, you know, that type of activity. So they pay us quarterly. We get a check every quarter for the work that we've been doing underneath the maintenance agreement. And the last one is now expiring. So this would be the next 10-year agreement. And really, it's a benefit to us in the sense that we don't have to rely on IDOT to take care of things. When someone calls and says, hey, there's a sidewalk trip hazard, we can just go out and take care of it. We don't have to wait 6 months or however long it would take to get through IDOT's process. In the meantime, you've got a sidewalk that you know is bad and someone might get hurt on. So, and for plowing, those are some of the routes that we hit first. Obviously, we're going to hit the big state routes and our own arterials through town. So we don't want to wait on however IDOT prioritizes it, right? Because every one of their routes is a state route. So to them, they're all equally important. So it's mutually beneficial. It saves them staff time. They don't have to have somebody come out just to do our snow removals. And again, it allows us to prioritize the order in which those routes get done so that we're not waiting because they, you know, maybe they think Route 64 and, you know, is more important to get that cleared first because it's got more lanes on it and it's higher traffic. You know, we'll get to, you know, the state routes in Aurora whenever those pop up. So we like that aspect of it, and you know, we're driving on these roads anyway. So instead of driving past the snow, they just drop the plow and salt. And financially, it's always worked out well. We don't have any issues with what we're given. They basically have an equation. They just figure out how many lane miles you have, and then that's what the number, how they derive the number. So happy to answer any questions.
Comments? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it's, I read it, it's basically 25 miles, about $1 million a year.
It's $1 million for the 10 years.
For 10 years?
Yeah. We get about, our quarterly payments are usually 27,000, somewhere in there.
Okay. And then we're also maintaining these, like a pothole or something like that. Have we ever tracked how much we actually spend in that maintenance cost, if we have, just to see how big of a benefit it is?
We'll be able to once we get the asset management software online, because we're going to start tracking every single ticket that we get. So every call that we get, we're going to say, you know, we were at this pothole for 5 minutes. We had 3 people. We had, you know, this truck was here. And, you know, so we're going to be able to get to that. We haven't yet. The only major work we've done was some patching south of North on 25. We just did that last year. And even that, we think that we were, you know, within rights to do it. They wanted us to do it. We asked them if they would. They said, no, that's maintenance. So we ended up doing it. But that would really be the only large expense that we've had. I can work with streets to maybe quantify how much salt we think we're putting on there a year. I mean, we know how much we're putting down per lane mile and about how many salting events we have, so we could quantify the salt. And again, quantifying the labor is probably not.
Well, they're already there. Right?
Exactly, they're driving
Yep.
past it, it's just whether the plow is up or down. So I don't think that would be a fair one to really include. But really, the only large one I know of is the patching that we just did last year, because we just kept getting complaints on it. And that portion is actually within what they're gonna be resurfacing this year, because they will be. We've got a sewer separation project down near Hazel on 25, and we are going to get that done here this summer, and then they're coming in to resurface basically from where they stopped their last resurfacing south of town, and then they're going all the way up to Indian Trail. So hopefully after they do that, we won't have much maintenance at all to do on 25. And 31 they recently just did too. So the pothole patching, I'm thinking, is gonna go down to pretty much zero for this 10-year contract.
That's great.
No further questions, Madam Chair. So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman John Lesch, second Alderman Dan Barreto. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed 4-0. Thank you very much. No other item?
Motion to
Motion to
adjourn.
adjourn.
Motion
Second.
adjourned by Alderman Ted Misiakos, second Alderman John Lesch. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion adjourned at 4:44 p.m. Thank you very much.